welcome to another video. So today I want to talk about the different styles of deer hunting, specifically spotting and stalking, or sitting in the stands, the stand hunting. Which is best? What should you use? And that really is going to boil down to what are you hunting with, how confident are you with what you're hunting, and how much property do you have to your disposal to hunt on? Are you hunting on a large piece of private land? Are you hunting on public ground? Are you hunting on a small parcel? So let's first talk about the one that a lot of people use, and that's going to be stand hunting. So stand hunting is really kind of a unique aspect for deer hunting, where you can use it on large pieces of property, you can use it on private land, public land, or you can even use it on small pieces of property. And then out of stand hunting, you've got a lot of different avenues that you can go. You can use homemade blinds, store-bought blinds, tree stands, tripods, tower blinds. The options for you really are endless if you start looking at all the different options. Then when you decide, let's say you're going to use a tree stand, then you get into the different types of tree stands. You've got your climbers, you've got hang-on tree stands, you've got homemade tree stands, ladder stands. I used to hunt with just a 2x4 with notches on it, that we call those notch boards, where you hang them in a fork. I've even seen people take rope with them, climb up in a tree, and string the rope 5 or 6 times on it between 2 branches and sit on that. So you've got a lot of different choices, specifically for stand hunting. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different options. When you look at the different types of just tree stands alone, there's all those different options we discussed. So that's always good. And then even when you get into those different options, there's different ways you can even accessorize them. Do you put a blind around them? Do you want to put a roof on it so you can stay dry from rain dripping on your, or the frost melt dripping on your head? There's different accessories you can use to hang around the stand, and hold a camera, hold your bow, hold your firearm, whatever you're hunting with. So a lot of different options there. And same thing goes for the different tripods. Tons of different types. There's quad pods, tripods, single man, double man. So lots of different options there. And that all is going to boil down to what you're comfortable hunting with, and then what works best for the parcel of property that you're going to be hunting on. You don't want to do spot and stalk if you've only got access to, say, 5 to 20 acres. 30, 40 acres even would be pushing it for a spot and stalk type of hunting. You get up into 80, 100 acres, then you might be able to do some spot and stalk. Personally, I found that really even 80 acres, which is the majority of where we hunt is on our family, 80 acres, it's hard to spot and stalk. I've done it successfully and killed several deer that way, but it's a little bit more difficult, especially when you're looking at a thick brushed area. So then let's talk about the spot and stalk a little bit more. When's the best time to do that? I really enjoy doing it on public ground, or like if we get drawn into for a controlled hunt, instead of sitting there and leaving chance that the little bit of scouting I was allowed to do before doing the hunt. I've picked the right location. I'd rather take my time and do some spotting and stalking, starting out first thing in the morning where I think their food source is going to be at. That usually works out pretty well for me. We've done fairly well doing hunts that way. And then other times you can get completely skunked that way. But then again, you can get completely skunked by sitting in a stand. Both type of huntings definitely have their positives. With spotting and stalking, sometimes it's going to be a little bit easier to work with the wind, because you can definitely walk into it. And even if the wind's strong enough, if it's maybe even a misty morning or snowing where your scent's going to be kept down, I found that those times are easier to slip into a bedding area. especially if you're bow hunting and get within bow shot of a buck. whereas it might not have been the best time to be sitting in the stand. So I mean, definitely take the weather into consideration as well. Whereas, you know, stand hunting, you have to pick your location based on how the wind's going to be running that day. Maybe I have a really good stand. I know the buck's going to be coming by there, but the winds are going to be wrong that day. Well, then I can't hunt that stand without taking a chance of spooking the buck. Which, I mean, you could take the chance and spook him if you want. I've hunted where the wind's been blowing straight at the deer, and they've looked at me and they've not really cared. And that really is going to depend on the location you're hunting as well. If it's got a lot of pressure, then they might spook easier. If you're a low pressure area, they might not spook as easily. Or if you're in an area where the deer are used to people coming through. So like where we hunt, even though we're not on the property all the time, where there's scent of us in there, the neighbor's on his property all the time feeding his cows on both sides of our property. So his scent blows in there, and it actually kind of works in our favor, where I don't have to worry about playing the wind as much as someone else does. Definitely do play the wind. And something else I've not heard too many people talk about, and I think people take it into consideration without thinking about it, but that's going to be when you're sitting in your stand, how's the sun going to affect you? I mean, are you going to cast a big shadow out into a field where the deer are going to see that? Well, if you are, and you're sitting in a tree, the deer probably aren't even going to pay attention to it because they're used to that shadow being out there from the tree, right? But if you've got a tripod sitting there, that might be a little bit different. If it's kind of sitting out and it's not tucked into any kind of vegetation. And then also, you know, still talking about the sun, when that big buck comes out, is the sun going to be in your eyes where you can't even take your shot? I know I've had that problem and hadn't thought about it when I set the stand up, and then there I am, the deer's coming in, I'm ready to take my shot, and I can't find it in my sights because the sun's blaring in my eyes and I can't see anything. So, you know, that's something you might want to take into consideration when you're stand hunting. When you're spot and stalking, you can put the sun at your back and move along with, you know, any kind of cover that you can find, and it might work out really well for you. I know a couple of years ago we were hunting a couple of really nice deer, and I knew their travel route, knew exactly where they were going to be. I could have went and put a stand and got probably a 30-yard shot to him, but I would have had the sun in my eyes right about the time he'd been coming through there. So it'd have been, you know, it'd have been a bad shot, or even worse, I wouldn't have been able to take the shot. So I ended up spot stalking that area, and I ended up staying across the field watching where I knew he was going to come out, and slowly working down the line looking for him, and he came out about where I thought he was going to. I ended up not taking a shot because it wouldn't have been ethical, but still, just goes to show that one way is not better than the others. I heard a lot of guys say the only way to hunt deer is by sitting in a stand, and I know plenty of people that have never even sat in a stand and have killed really big monster deer. So just because your grandfather or your father or the neighbor next door says the only way you can hunt is by sitting in a stand, go get you a real nice stand, it's not necessarily true. When I first started hunting with my dad, what we would do is we would go over to this little corner on the property that we hunted, and we would sit next to a tree, never in a stand, and saw tons of deer, you know. And we killed several deer right there too. My brothers got killed several deer by sitting on the ground, really nice bucks at that, you know. So I guess my point to this video is adapt your hunting style to what's comfortable to you and what works for the property and what works with the weather that's happening. I mean, some circumstances, like we talked about, there's not really much choice. You're not going to be able to spot and stalk on 10 acres, but if you've got enough property, if you're hunting public land, make it work for you. And what's nice about especially public land is if you hunt the right times of the season, there's not going to be a lot of people out there. We all have this conceived notion that you're going to go there and there's going to be 30 vehicles in the parking lot, and there's not going to be a place to hunt. And maybe in some places that's accurate, especially like in maybe a gun or a muzzleloading season. But archery season, there's usually not anyone out, or if there is, it's one or two guys, and they've probably got a stand way back, off somewhere. And a lot of times you can ask them, "Hey, I'm gonna do spot and stalk here. If if you're in the parking lot at the same time they are, I'm gonna do spot and stalk here. Where's your stand? I want to make sure I don't mess up, your hunting." And a lot of times they'll say, "My stand's off in this direction, or my stand's off over this way." I mean, sometimes you'll get the guys that don't want to tell you because they're afraid you are going to mess them up on purpose. But just watch which way they go before you head out, and go in a different direction. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the different types of stand hunting. We're just about August. We're a couple days away from August, so we'll be in planning. We'll be getting closer to hunting season, and then hopefully I can start putting some videos up of hunting, whether I shoot something or not. If a doe comes by, if a squirrel comes by, I'll definitely try to film that kind of stuff. If you're like me, you enjoy nature, regardless of if you bring something home or not. So definitely be on the lookout for those. Those will be coming in October. I highly doubt that I'll be doing any bird hunting this year because there's not a lot of people around here planting the correct type of crops where dove are going to be. So highly doubt I'll be doing any of that. But I'm going to try to do some rabbit hunting, some squirrel hunting, and I'll definitely bring you along for that. And I mean, if you want to hear some videos on my different methods for doing that type of hunting, we can definitely talk about that. It doesn't always have to be about deer hunting. Deer hunting is kind of one of my passions. I also really enjoy ram hunting. Would like to do that here in the next year or so, but we'll just see how things go. So until the next video, hope you enjoy this and like and subscribe for more.